And their opponents, these guys, well, they're feeling real good. Having a bit of a down year until last week came up, and they were just feeling it, and they just wrecked shop all weekend long, not losing a single set in 5 matches, and they are, you know what, they're guaranteeing they're going to do it again. So let's see what happens. This first guy, ladies and gentlemen, out of USC, let me hear it for Mr. Bourne. You need to go to Instagram and look up King Crabb, because he is a real fun follow. Whether he's posting or commenting, you want to know what he's going to say. Ladies and gentlemen, let me hear it for the bad boy, Mr. Trevor Crabb.
Well, there you have it. We are all set to go. Seed number 2, Bourne and Trevor Crabb, last week champions in Fort Lauderdale, taking on number 7, Andy Benesh, who won in Austin earlier this year with Phil Dahlhauser, now playing with Phil's good friend, Nick Lucena. And this should be a really good one. Talk about experience. 3 of the 4 players, a ton of experience. Andy Benesh, up and coming for sure. What do you see here, Rich, and what's the strategy for and Trevor to keep the roll going?
Well, I think if they play their game, obviously we saw it last week in Florida, their game, quote unquote, which includes a lot of blocking from Bourne, like we see there, is enough to beat anyone on the AVP tour. They've done it quite a few times over the last several years. Andy and Nick need to get into a good block and defensive rhythm as well. Big Andy Benesh imposing his will at the net.
There's Andy Benesh out of the University of Southern California. A big cross-court hit, playing with all sorts of confidence.
Yeah, he's really come into his own this season. Started off the year with a win, as we've mentioned, with Phil Dahlhauser. And he's just been playing better and better as the weeks go by, it seems.
Here comes Bourne. Sees Nick sliding into the line and goes cross court. Great vision by
Yeah, really great footwork to get to that ball, right? A little tight. He's got to get by the big 6'9" Andy Benesh. Does a nice job of going up over the top.
There you see it, 16 tournaments for Bourne and Crabb. Of those 16, they have 3 victories, and we mentioned the last one coming last week. And in the winner's interview, let's not forget, it was Trevor Crabb guaranteeing a victory in this first Gold Series event here in Atlanta.
Yeah, not shy, is he, Dave?
No, but I mean, I confirmed it with you that those guarantees have been real. I thought there was a few thrown out there that were not successful, but you can attest, he's 3 for 3.
He's 3 for 3, yeah.
I wonder if that fires up. Does that fire up, or like a Phil, or does he even think of that?
I don't know that too many people get wrapped up in whether or not he's going to come through on those guarantees, but it seems to stoke the fire on his side of the net. Right?
He's doing it for himself.
He's doing it for himself, which, you know, is a very good way to operate. If you know that about yourself, saddle yourself with a little extra pressure and come through and perform like he and have 3 other times thus far.
Yeah, I guess whatever it takes, as we take our first side change, 4-3, Bourne and Crabb, and some high-level volleyball to start things off. Sometimes at the beginning of a match, you might see some silly errors, just not really into it. Both these teams are ready to go. They know the importance of this second round.
Yeah, and you're going to see plenty of chatter, too. Between all of these guys. We talk about the mouthpiece on Trevor Crabb, of course, but Nick Lucena not afraid to get into a little bit of verbal warfare himself, and everybody good friends out there, so it's all relatively good-natured, fortunately.
Bourne back to serve out of Honolulu, Hawaii. Played his college volleyball at USC as well, similar to Andy Benesh. A little inside out, side swiper down the line, misses that one.
Yeah, and that's a couple service errors early, but like you said, teams oftentimes just trying to feel their way into matches, and that's such a weapon for the team of Bourne and Crabb, that serve of Bourne, that he's just looking to find the range.
Here's Benesh. He'll go to try and try challenging cross court, a dangerous challenge with Andy Benesh in your face, but he gets there just quick enough.
A nice swing from about 6 feet off the net, cross court, Bourne.
A serve right there. And there's the chatter that you talked about, Trevor Crabb just saying, just serve it right to him. It's just that easy.
Yeah, it's just that easy, I guess. You know, you already are hanging your head a little bit if you make the kind of unforced error, and then Trevor just helps you think about it a little extra. Nice response, though, that time. Andy Benesh, big bomb into the cross court. He takes the high road and doesn't respond, that he just hits it right to him.
There's Nick Lucena, 42 years of age now. Been on tour for 20 years out of Florida State University. Nice to see Nick's wife, Brooke Niles, in the coach's box right there. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair, yeah. And Nick, the newest hire at Florida State, taking the assistant coaching role on the beach volleyball team this upcoming season.
That's a dangerous duo. A lot of volleyball knowledge right there.
Yeah. Lest you want to cry nepotism, Nick, a two-time Olympian, so an excellent hire no matter who gets him.
There's a good look at Brooke Niles, head coach at Florida State. And there is Nick Lucena, who has had an outstanding career, 16 AVP victories. And just one of the nicest guys you'll meet out there. Very fiery, yet very humble.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-deprecating, great sense of humor. And there's some more of the chatter. Nick letting Trevor know that if they were partners, he would have tried hard for that ball out of the tape. Trying to drive the wedge just a bit.
Big serve by Benesh. Here comes Crabb on the right side, and maybe a little intimidated of that block, thinking twice about shooting it, and then the ball just drops too late and into the net.
Yeah, such a critical piece of beach blocking, right, is creating that hesitation, that seed of doubt in your opponent, causing him to second guess himself, and Trevor Crabb taking just a split second too long to make a decision there.
Anytime you have the 6'9" Benesh in your face as a blocker, you're going to think twice about shots. Here's a rip of a serve. Bourne going to try to go on two, but Lucena's there, and he'll challenge cross court. And the chatter continues underneath the net.
You see, it's just all part of the game for these guys, though. Just such a natural piece of the demeanor of Trevor Crabb and of Nick Lucena.
And Andy's taking it all in.
Yeah. Well, I like that he's staying quiet. You know, if it's not in kind of your natural temperament, if you get involved in talking with people who are kind of naturals at it, like Trevor Crabb, like Nick Lucena, it'll take you out of your game a lot of times, right?
That's a good call. You're absolutely right. We talked about the experience of 3 of the 4 players, and Andy Benesh, you know, has kind of quietly gone about his business with wide eyes, taking in all the lessons, and then getting that opportunity to play with Phil Dahlhauser in Austin this year. And no one thought it could be done. You're putting 2 guys out there that are about 6'9" and have success, but nobody could touch them that weekend.
Yeah, split blocking, split defending, and they were unbelievable that week in Austin.
And then the next week, Phil played with Casey Patterson for the first time, winning in New Orleans. And then it was Theo Brunner and Kame Schulk in Hermosa Beach. They're for sure trying to make a run for the 2024 games. And then last week in Fort Lauderdale, Bourne and Trevor Crabb, who also are in great position to make a run. And Rich, your team, the Taylors, Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb, right there and ready to go. I asked you the other day who the front runners were on the men's side for that 2024 Olympics, and I think you're absolutely right. It's those 3 teams right now.
Right now, yeah, and the answer is going to be, kind of who peaks at the right time, because it's essentially a 2-year qualification window, right? And so there's naturally going to be ebbs and flows for every team throughout that time period. So can you get yourself to find your top level at the right times? That's the ongoing challenge for all 3 of those teams and anybody else hoping to make it to Paris in 2024.
Yeah, that qualification window will open early 23, and it's your top 12 events, I believe. You can play in 20, 25 events, however many events there are, but it's your best 12, and just the top 2 teams from the United States will make it. Granted that one of those teams is in the top 8 or 15.
Top 16, I think. Yeah, and then,
Then you get that second team.
You get, maximum of 2 per country, of course. We were talking about how it was a bit of an outlier in '96 here in Atlanta. The first time beach volleyball was in the Olympics, the United States had 3 teams in Mike Dodd, Mike Whitmarsh, Karchi, and Kent, and of course St. John Smith and Carl Hankel. Nice high slap off the top from Bourne takes us into the technical.
Benesh and Lucena up 11-10 as we take this technical timeout over Bourne and Crabb. Last week, we mentioned it, the champions were Trevor Crabb and Bourne, winning for the first time on the 2022 AVP Tour. Let's take a look at the highlights.
Back to action here for the AVP Pro Series Fort Lauderdale Open. We move on to set number 2 of the men's final. Bourne and Trevor Crabb taking on Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk. Trevor Crabb guaranteeing a victory here in Florida. He's never won outside of the state of California, but winning that deuce game in set number 1 over Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk. So 5 serving 3. Early action here of set number 2 in the men's final. It's dig by Trevor. A one-footed takeoff as Theo drops. 1 point from the technical timeout. He's down to Bourne on the left. And Bourne continues to fire on all cylinders. Match point opportunity number 2 now. Strong jump serve taken. Trevor on 2. And they've done it. Guarantee comes through. Trevor Crabb and Bourne are your AVP Fort Lauderdale champions, getting the win over Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk in 2 decisive sets.
Great to see this celebration right there. The Kona Brewing Championship moment right there in the end. And, they've worked so hard and they play with such intensity, Trevor and It was nice to see them finally break through in 2022. But Kame Schalk and Theo Brunner have really elevated their game from last season to this season.
Yeah, they've just kind of, tightened a few screws, as it were, in their game. Plugged a few holes, in spots where they would tend to leak here and there in previous seasons, previous matches. They've really tightened up their game, and it's been fun to see, but if you're their opponent, it's been a little bit frustrating to see. You don't get any of the freebies you were previously accustomed to, perhaps.
Yeah, I think a big turning point for them was Hermosa Beach. It seemed like Kame Schalk playing defense. Those gaps were that he would make the dig, not put it away. Now he's making the dig and he's converting at a very high rate.
Yeah, and that's kind of a whole process and equation, right? It's the transition setting that they've really also improved upon, and all sorts of factors go into that, and it's a testament to their work with Coach Scott Davenport.
12 all. Trevor Crabb going over to Andy Benesh. Benesh tries to hit that high corner and just misses it, so Bourne and Crabb go up by 1.
Yeah, that's a couple that have gone just long from big Andy Benesh. To me, a combination of him maybe being a touch early, getting underneath that ball, and perhaps that set has to be a little closer.
Oh, what a spectacular block. Trevor thinking the block may have left because the set was about 10 feet off, but Benesh stays up at the net. Is that something you like, staying up at the net, even with the set being about 10 feet off if you're that size at 6'9"?
Yeah, what I really like about that play, it could have gone either way, but he's very disciplined, as you see there, in closing that line, so the easy out is taken away for Trevor Crabb, and you got the quick Nick Lucena behind you to clean up anything soft.
That time Nick on the run, maybe giving up his position a little bit too early and sliding into that line. Bourne has a visual and goes the opposite direction.
Yeah, and we saw the good discipline from Andy on the previous play against Trevor, but I wonder if he's getting up just a touch early right now, and like you mentioned, giving away the position to guys with phenomenal vision in Bourne and Trevor Crabb.
We saw a Benesh error to that corner a second ago. He recalibrated and hit that corner perfectly. I love seeing those deep corner hits. A lot of players don't hit that deep. They try to hit straight down for the kind of the glory ball and the power ball, but those deep corners are so vulnerable.
Yeah, especially when you're big like Andy Benesh, you know, you can hit the ball at such a high contact point. Makes it so difficult to not only block but defend because it's a different sort of trajectory than you're accustomed to seeing.
There's a good look at Andy Benesh, 27 years of age. And a rip of a cross-court jump serve right there. Kind of caught Trevor off guard.
Almost looked like a mishit. It was so quick and so clean, and just, like you said, kind of caught him off guard, just untouchable.
That's a fast cross-court serve right there. And as you know, Rich, some of your mishits are some of your best serves.
Yeah, right. If I don't know, they don't know, kind of a thing.
15-14. Bad toss right there by Benesh. I remember years ago you used to be able to throw up the ball and actually catch it and reset. No longer. That had to change, gosh, in the late 90s. I think they got rid of that. And if you throw up a bad toss, you got to go for it,
right,
regardless.
That is kind of a part of the game I think we probably don't train enough. I know indoors it was a big part of our approach to serving. If I have a bad toss, I've got to be able to recognize it kind of mid-approach and be able to keep that in. And if I've got a good toss, I can go ahead and whack it. Sometimes I think we just throw it up there and hit it no matter where it goes, and that leads to errors, obviously.
Nice save right there. Tight set by Trevor Crabb, but Bourne kind of walking the tightrope there and got it over the block.
Yeah, again, starts with some good footwork to get all the way to that ball, go straight up, and he almost had to punch that straight skyward to get over the big Andy Benesh.
Tied 16-all. Bourne toeing the line on the right side. Gonna try to deceive Benesh. Goes down the line. Benesh with a beautiful pass, but that ball just out of bounds.
It's a great set that time from Nick. It's 3 balls now that have probably missed by a total of 6 inches from Andy Benesh.
And Nick and Andy have seen enough. They're going to call a timeout and think about this one. Yeah, we've talked about Nick Lucena, 16 AVP championships, so a total of 17 for Benesh and Lucena. And Bourne's got 6 championships. Crabb's got 4 for a total of 10. That kind of gives you an idea of how seasoned and balanced the team of Bourne and Crabb are.
Yeah, Bourne picking up a couple with John Hayden. When he came out here as a youngster, they were quite a formidable team. Really in the hunt until the final minutes almost for the Rio Olympic Games.
And what a story for Nick Lucena, playing with his buddy Phil, winning in 2005 in Austin, Texas for the first victory for both of them, and then going their separate ways. Phil with Todd Rogers, and Nick kind of skipped around, and then 10 years later in 2015 they get back together and end up playing in 2 Olympic Games, Phil and Nick do, and would have liked to done a little bit better. But how cool, best of friends, having that kind of storied career of playing together, playing apart. It's just been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, the longevity some of our all-time greats in this sport have had, right? I mean, at 42 years of age, Nick and Phil both still out here playing at a very high level. And really the question it brings up in my mind is, why did you retire so early? I mean, guys are out here into their 40s, Dave.
Yeah, I kind of stopped playing, gosh, probably mid-30s, and just was ready to transition into some other things. But I'll tell you what, being around the sport, being in broadcasting, being a coach, all those different things, there's nothing like competing on the court and playing on Sunday afternoon in a final.
Yeah, absolutely. I never did this at the level you did, not anywhere close, so I don't have that FOMO so much. But is it tough to kind of see these guys battling, and you get the itch, you start scratching your neck a little bit up here in the booth?
No, you know, it's fun to watch the stories now. You know, it would be great to be down there, and you know, I play for fun here and there, but I'm impressed, I'll tell you, with these guys. Nick, 42, Phil, 42, Casey Patterson, 42. What is John Hyden, 49 years old? Doing it at this level is miraculous, and it's a testament to how they have taken care of themselves. But yeah, you always, you know, wish you were down on that court playing, and but you know, things change, right?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the fact that they're keeping pace with these younger athletes coming up, I mean, the game just gets bigger, faster, stronger, it seems like, right? I mean, I look at the indoor game, for example, which was kind of the discipline I was involved in, and I go, man, it was only 10 years ago or so that I was playing. I don't even recognize it. I'm glad I'm not out there trying to face some of those serves anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it changes so rapidly, especially the indoor game. As Andy Benesh gets his stuff down right there. I played indoor at Pepperdine University, and looking at the game now it's just an entirely different game.
That's a completely different thing, yeah. And I remember watching you back in the day on Prime Ticket. College volleyball match of the week.
1918.
That's just an unbelievable play to keep hopes alive on the side of Bourne and Crabb. Just a one-handed spear covered by Bourne. Amazing play here.
Yeah, because Andy Benesh is starting to heat up as a blocker, and how important to cover right there. Keep him in it.
Yeah, you could see his good ready position. I love that. He sets the ball and he's in that crouch. If you follow him on Instagram, you see the work he does with Mikkel Jenkins, his trainer. I mean, they do all kinds of band work, flexibility, strength across different planes. I mean, he's a stud out there.
And just like that, Benesh and Lucena are at set point, have an opportunity to win this first set. Here comes Benesh on the right side. A little trickler. We're going to have an option play by Bourne. A risky play from that position. Not a lot of court to work with. Had to cut it back and made it look easy.
Yeah, I like his aggressiveness there, too, because you see Trevor, after that tape serve, in a bit of a compromised position. Going to be difficult even with a perfect set. So takes the aggressive route, puts that away.
20 all. Here comes Andy Benesh, left side. Gets blocked, covers. And then the smart finesse shot down the line. So good court presence by Andy Benesh.
Yeah, just a great glimpse into the athleticism of the youngster right there to hit that ball and sprawl backwards almost to cover himself, keep that play alive, put it away with the line shot.
There's Andy Benesh, originally out of Rancho Palos Verdes. Benesh and Lucena. Set point number 2. Short serve, looks like trouble. Benesh keeping it alive. Trevor Crabb, he gets blocked. Benesh putting up an absolute wall at the net. 22-20, first set is in the books.
And maybe Andy is getting involved in the chatter a little bit, a little extra look through the net after closing out that first set.
What a cover right there. He's made some spectacular plays. His agility, landing, turning, keeping the ball in play.
And I like his timing's a little bit better there too, right? You can see he kind of goes after Trevor Crabb, doesn't give away his position early, closes down that line slap. Really nicely done from the youngster out of USC.
And what I like best about what he's doing is he's targeting that block back into the meat of the court rather than down the line and out of bounds. He's making sure that he stuffs that ball. So Bourne and Crabb are going to have their work cut out for them as Andy Benesh starting to heat up at the net. Benesh and Lucena win set 1, 22-20.
Get ready for a whole new wave of White Claw. New full flavor White Claw Surf. Sensational refreshment for a taste like no other.
We all know it's a good idea to recycle. But what happens to that aluminum can or all that paper after you put it in the recycling bin? Where does it go? What does it become in its second life?
See how WM is always working for a sustainable tomorrow at WM.com/stories.
It's the choices we make that define us.
Try and Trevor is coming off a tough, heartbreaking loss.
And ultimately, the enemy is within. Some people want it, some wish for it, but others make it happen.
Try and Trevor is super lethal, bringing fire and passion to the court.
How will you take charge?
Welcome back to Atlantic Station, set number 1 in the books. Lambourne, check out the stats.
Yeah, I mean, that match came down to the wire. I would say the blocking of Andy Benesh late was the difference there. I mean, you see some discrepancies in hitting percentages and so forth, but really in a battle of teams this closely matched, it's going to be those 1 or 2 plays in timely fashion, and those went the favor of Nick and Andy in that first set.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that you're just not going to see on a stat sheet is Andy Benesh's presence at the net. He just was putting up a wall. If he wasn't blocking the ball, he was giving Trevor and Tri something to think about each and every offensive attack.
Right, and we saw him with some great agility plays late, right? A cover and then kind of a second contact after a block of his own.
And we're off here in the second set. Trevor Crabb roll shotting that ball down for a 1-0 lead, but definitely possibly an upset brewing here. Short serve, here comes Benesh. Deep middle hit.
And he continues to find that high part of the court, the deep part of the court, right? And if he gets dialed in on that range, he's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When he starts hitting that consistently in the backcourt, very difficult to play defense against. Here comes Crabb, right side. Roll shot is gobbled up by Nick Lucena, and Andy Benesh knows exactly what to do with it.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. Be aggressive. Nick does a nice job throwing his big partner up near the net, so he's got that option.
Number 2, Bourne, Trevor Crabb versus number 7, Benesh and Lucena. These two teams have never faced one another as pairs. That ball just long. If you're just joining us, set number 2 here, the AVP Gold Series in Atlanta, the first of 3 Gold Series events. We're in the second round of the men's division here on center court. Dane Blanton, Rich Lamborn bringing you the action. That's an overpass and out of bounds, so aggressive serving, trying to get Tri and Trevor back on track.
We didn't see him find the range so much with that serve in the first set, but that's a nice start here in the second for Tri.
Rips that ball just long. Looked like that toss was a little bit behind him. That toss is so crucial, and you mentioned working on it in training and practice. You have to be able to toss that ball perfectly, because it's you that's giving. It's almost like giving yourself a set, and it's crucial, that positioning. But those great jump servers start to learn exactly where that sweet spot is every time.
Right. Yeah, it's the only skill in volleyball, not to overly nerd out on it, but that we refer to as a closed loop motor skill, where you control all the variables. You toss the ball, nobody's blocking you or anything like that. The net's at a consistent height, so really it's the only skill that you're completely in control of, and so it's something you want to be diligent in training.
Nice block right there by Bourne. You saw that stat moments ago when losing the first set. Tri and Trevor 6-18. So just goes to show you how important it is to win that first set. Get you in more of a comfort zone. It's a little bit of an offset, but Andy Benesh makes it look easy.
Yeah, he does a nice job of maintaining pace on that shot. Doesn't get soft even as the set kind of trails away from the net there a little bit.
And there's Benesh and Lucena's stat. When winning the first, they are 6-2. They have played a total of 12 matches together, and they're at a 500 winning, 6 out of 12. Love to improve upon that. And here comes Benesh on the right side, right down the middle, making Tri and Trevor make a decision, and oh my, Andy Benesh throwing it back.
Yeah, he timed that one beautifully, and it just went right into both mitts for the high slam jammer. Here's another look. Again, a nice little delay in his timing there, kind of disguises his position, and he goes up and grabs it.
That was amazing. Couldn't have been in a better position. His timing, got it with both hands, threw it back. Oh, look at Nick with the scoop. And trouble, overpass, and Benesh making him pay.
Yeah, great dig from Nick just to keep that alive. And kind of the attempted on-2 ball from Trevor Crabb gets a little overcooked. Andy cleans that one up as well.
Nick's just a spectacular defender, and then Trevor, a little bit of an error there. That pass over the net, you can't afford to put that anywhere near the net with Andy up there. Trevor tries to challenge Nick cross court. He'll have a second opportunity, and Nick's there again. Nick will take a look and go where they are not, and Nick Lucena looking like a wizard out there right now.
He really is, and it starts with that front line of Andy Benesh. So big up there, so imposing, and it allows Nick to stay so patient and disciplined in his positioning behind the big youngster.
Yeah, it is so nice playing behind a big block because they take up so much area. Right here, Andy Benesh taking the line away, so the hitter has to crush it cross court, and that's where Nick is, so comfortable in that slot. And then when he gets a second opportunity, you know Nick's not going to miss that.
That's right.
(7-5), Benesh and Lucena up in the second set. They won the first set, so the pressure is on for Bourne and Crabb. Taking a timeout, gonna think about it right here, and it's tough. It's tough adjustments. I mean, it's not like Tri and Trevor are playing poorly. It's just Andy Benesh and Nick have put up a really solid defensive set that it's hard to penetrate.
Yeah, they're kind of doing the better job of the two teams at imposing their will on their opponents, right? And like you mentioned, Tri and Trev not playing a bad match, but hitting 0 right now, and that kind of goes to the block and defense of Andy Benesh and Nick Lucena more than anything. But we've seen this a lot from the team of Tri and Trevor. You know, we talk about how steady they are, how hard they are to kind of score in bunches against. So they certainly have the belief that they're never out of any match. And you know, it's only a 2-point deficit here in the early stages of this second set, so we're far from the finish line here. Look for them to make this interesting and do so in a hurry.
Yeah, I love how Trevor and Tri, they're very composed. You know, as fiery as they are, you never really see them going at each other. The chemistry is there.
Yeah.
You know, they're childhood friends and known each other forever, and I like the demeanor, and I think that is what gives them the ability to make comebacks, because they just don't push the panic button.
Right. Yeah, they know each other very well. They know what to expect, not only out of themselves but out of each other, and so it gives you kind of that freedom to be calm, so to speak.
And then over on 2, that'll do it. When Benesh is serving, he's got to run all the way up to the net. So if you can go over on 2, still a risky play right there, you do it. And give them different looks right now. You don't want Benesh to get comfortable at the net.
Yeah, I like that though too, the on-2 ball, just because, you know, they've scored, Andy and Nick have scored a couple on Trev. He's not quite in his perfect side-out rhythm, so give one to your partner, let him take care of it for you.
Nick Lucena, 152nd AVP tournament, 16 wins, 6-time playing in Atlanta, and yet to get a title here. Maybe this is the year for Nick. Got himself a young, fiery partner who is patrolling at the net. I love blocks like that where the block happens and the ball actually ends up in the net on the hitter's side so quickly.
Right. Yeah, really a good angle swing from Tri Bourne, but just a great press. Let's look at that left hand. Big Andy Benesh really taking away that cross court.
Benesh again with a block. This time it's covered. And the line shot by Tri is out of bounds. So Andy Benesh just causing fits for Tri and Trevor right now. They are looking for answers.
And that's the byproduct, right? Like, that's a hitting error, but you got to chalk that up to the block of Andy Benesh, because he makes you try and chop off too much. He makes you try and be too precise, and it induces those errors when he's blocking and touching as many balls as he is up there.
Oh, that was just textbook. You couldn't teach it any better. Tri steps in, passes it, just kind of saunters backwards to get his approach, and then he comes in and hits that really sharp angle. That's how you defend against a short serve.
Right. Yeah, I love it too, because he jumps aggressively so he can hit if he wants to, or he can chop off that beautiful slap shot cross court.
I think the hardest part of that play is getting your approach, right? There you see Andy on the ground with his short serve, never gets an approach, but doesn't need one right there.
He doesn't need as much as the other guys do, and that's the beauty of being 6'9". Once you stand up, you're already above the net.
So true. So 11-7 here. 4-point lead for Benesh and Lucena. And another ace by Benesh. Same style, cross-body, cross-court, still catching Trevor Crabb off guard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's off guard so much as just that's such a precise and devastating serve that a receiver the talent of Trevor Crabb can barely get a hand on it.
Yeah, it's tough when you're expecting a serve. You get the serve, and it's still too good.
Yeah. And a great response there. Passing it up for the on-two play again from Bourne. That's been probably their best play, right?
The on-two, absolutely. And you saw after that play, looking for a little back and forth maybe with Andy, but all he could see is Andy's back because Andy turned and was walking away, wanting no part of that.
Yeah, and that's advanced kind of veteran type thinking. When things are rolling your way, don't rock the boat, right? Just keep it on your side.
Opportunity and on two. Was that legal?
It looked legal. It got caught kind of in the pocket a little bit, but it was a very hard driven ball. So
I like it. It looked like Nick sold it.
Yeah. One of the things that Nick does on defense, you kind of saw a version of it there, is he digs kind of with, we call them paddles, you know, his hands open. He gets that surface area out there, you know, kind of faces it up towards the heavens, as it were, and pops a lot of balls up.
Well, it's been the Andy Benesh show, so let's check out the Monster Hydro Monster block. This one was pretty amazing. He got up, threw it straight down, but he has been everywhere. Look at that, into the net and down, sealing. His timing's right. Andy Benesh, the Monster Hydro Monster block of the match, and there's a good look at the 27-year-old getting better every single time that he steps on the sand.
Yeah, and the thing I like in this match thus far is that he's really kind of made a real-time upgrade in that block timing in particular, right? We talked a little bit in the first set how he looked like he might have been a hair early. He started delaying a little bit more, kind of dialed in his timing, really imposed his will at the end of that second set to close it out for his squad, and has kind of continued that great run blocking into this second set.
Andy Benesh, set one, he had 4 errors, attacking just 1 so far, and just really playing some solid volleyball right now, putting all sorts of pressure, and right now Trevor really looking for an answer, how they can score some points here against this team who is siding out well and, more importantly, scoring points.
Yeah, and if I read that stat line right, he's got 6 blocks, does Andy Benesh, midway through the second here.
Nice pass. Here's Benesh again, and just challenging Bourne right there. He knew the defender was in the angle, and he still just ripped it as hard as he could.
And good bit of pop there. Not kind of more, that's more the traditional bomb that we're used to seeing from people, right? As opposed to the deep shots we've seen from Andy for most of this match.
Nice roll shot by Trevor Crabb. Trevor's got an interesting the KG tape that he's got on underneath the knees. Is that for patella?
That would be my guess, because he's got it on both knees. Try's just got it on one knee. Looks like they've got team sagging patellas or something.
Another challenge. And too aggressive right there by Try. I mean, he was there to make the play. If that ball is dug outside the antenna, it can be retrieved back outside the antenna. But he actually just set the ball right on top of the net. Therefore, coming in at an angle that was illegal, and the whistle blows right there. What a set, though.
I mean, an unbelievable play, but unfortunately just outside the
he needed it to be old school when there was no antennas. And
yeah, there you go.
Foot fault called. We don't see that very often, but you'll take any point you can get right now if you're Bourne and Crabb, as time is starting to run out.
It's ticking, but it's still not, you know, dire straits just yet.
Nice pass by Lucena. He hasn't got a ton of action, and maybe that's why the quick arm swing. And it's interesting, how do you approach this team? Would you go to the bigger Benesh, or do you deal with the shots of Lucena, who also is showing that he's got a rifle of an arm as well?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. You know, I mean, Nick's so proficient inside out because he played, as we've mentioned, so long with Phil Dahlhauser. Nobody wants to serve Phil. So Nick's got plenty of experience siding out for long periods of time. And in transition, another winner there.
Well, this is, I mean, Tri and Trevor are not playing poorly. Benesh and Nick are just straight up beating them right now.
Beating them.
They're beating them. They're hitting the ball a little harder. The block is more formed, but it's not like Tri and Trevor are playing poorly.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about what Nick and Andy are doing is when they create opportunities, they're capitalizing on them. And that's such a critical piece in winning matches out here.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. They are making Tri and Trevor pay for every little mistake, every little ball that Andy and Nick dig or touch or soft block. They're capitalizing and scoring. And the winner of this one taking on Lotman and Partain, or Dahlhauser and Patterson. And Nick finally makes an error out of bounds, so if there's a time to come back, it's right now.
Yeah, and it seems like their tactics have changed, right? Tri and Trev going after Nick a little more consistently here, seeing if they can, well, that might be a little bit of a mistake on their side. We talk about it a lot, you and I, right? If you score on a guy and then you go the other way, that's kind of a mistake, and Andy makes him pay for that mistake right there.
Yeah, it seemed like they might have had something going. Nick had made an error, which we hadn't seen out of that team in quite some time. But you're right, they go to Andy. He continues to do his thing. That ball is long. And you see, even with this lead, it's not like they're downshifting and serving the ball in and being conservative. Benesh and Lucena have been aggressive from start to finish so far. Here comes Bourne, trailing by 3 and trailing a set. Beautiful serve, and here comes Nick, right side against Trevor, and he goes high off the top. Great soft block, just ended up too deep in the court.
Yeah, good high swing from Nick, going up into the hands. I like that even though we saw the mistake on the last swing down the line, it doesn't curtail his aggressiveness.
Spectacular reaction speed by both Nick and Andy, and again they convert.
I love this dig. We see Nick just falling his weight forward, his shoulders forward. So important for a defender to have that balance the way you want it. Great overhand dig, and like you mentioned, a great reaction play from Andy.
Oh, Nick is there again, just hands weren't ready. And Nick and Andy in the driver's seat. Just need a couple of side outs and they will be advancing to the 3rd round.
Always the hardest ones to come by though, right, Dane? The last 2.
Oh, Nick takes a look a little too long and the ball ends up dropping below the net. So there's an error and we'll take the turn. 16-19, Benesh and Lucena.
Still in commanding position, but you don't want to get soft here. You don't want to let Tri and Trev hang around for too long, because they're kind of masters of these types of situations, right? Where they just kind of seem like they're not there, and then all of a sudden they're there when it matters.
Here we go, 16 serving 19. Nick Lucena tees up his partner. We haven't seen a lot of that option play out of Benesh, and he pulls it out right at the opportune time.
Yeah, we talked about that on the other side of the net, where When Trev was having a little bit of a hiccup in his side-out game, he throws it up to his partner. Nick wisely does the same on his side.
Match point. Andy Benesh down the line and just out of bounds. Great eye by Trevor Crabb, and now is where the real work happens. Just needing one side out to win the match and advance. Remember, this is number 2 versus 7. This would be a huge upset. Bourne goes for it, and that ball into the top of the net, so that is going to do it right there. Tri was in a difficult situation there, kind of had to go for it, had to get aggressive, but you want to keep it in.
Yeah, you got to keep pressure on your opponent, and you got to toe that line between pressure and error. A great performance, though, from Andy and Nick. They kind of started off a little bit slow, but really found their rhythm and found it late in set 1 and rolled that into set 2, kind of one going away.
Well, I'm going to tell Nick it's probably because his coach in the box getting a victory like that for sure, but that was some pretty volleyball by Andy and Nick. They just were composed. They played steady from start to finish, and they just didn't allow Tri and Trevor to get the traction, especially at the end of each set.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier as well. I really like the real-time upgrade in the block timing of Andy Benesh. He really found a way to impose his will on his opponents in that match and do so in very devastating fashion.
And that's going to be the question. Can Andy Benesh continue to own the net as we saw him do, just giving fits to Tri and Trevor? But you know, you said it the best. Tri and Trevor stayed composed the whole time, never lost it, never got too angry about it. They just knew they were playing some good volleyball, but on the other side of the net, they were playing a little bit better.
Yeah. Sometimes you get beat, and now the road to guarantee number 4 is going to be a little more difficult for Tri and Trev as we look at the stats.
6 blocks for Andy Benesh. That was a big difference. Aces were about the same. And you see that total jumps about the same. So great high-level match, and in this double elimination format, Tri and Trevor will drop down to the contenders bracket, still surviving, and they'll try to make a comeback for sure. So give the credit to Benesh and Lucena. Big upset. They'll be moving on.